also our graduate. A graduate, 1987, right?
1988.
Yes.
Don't add any more years to that. Just give me just 1 second to set this up. If I could get a helper, or Dr. Anwar can come back and help me for just a second. Mine's a little bit less informal, and I'd like to recognize my colleagues' high-tech approach because I'm extremely impressed with what he put together. It's very, very interesting. So my approach on the presentation is going to be a little bit looser. And since this is my time, Dr. Anwar, I'm going to not listen to you and only listen to my customers, which are right here. So I'm going to cheat a little bit because when last night we went to dinner, he said, you have 35 minutes tomorrow. And today he said, you have 25 minutes today. So this is my time with you. So I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to include my questions during the discussion. And I have to offer a disclaimer and apologize ahead of time. I have a tendency to present by asking questions, and I'd also like to know a little bit about your business once I get started. Make sure that I cover something at least for 90% of the participants that are here that paid their good money this morning. I also am very happy to see a former colleague of mine, which is Mrs. Cornett, who I hit up for a contribution when I was in charge of the American Marketing Association back at WT about 10 years ago. So it's a really neat experience to come back after a decade of being in the workforce. I'm very, very proud to be here and very excited to be your presenter, and I certainly congratulate you on your investment this morning. Before I get started, let me make sure that these are going to show up here. This is going to work. And I'm going to start asking a couple of questions first. Everybody read that? Very, very simple, but I think it's going to generate a lot of interesting conversation this morning. While my colleague was discussing his section this morning right before me, I was reading the title of this program this morning, and had been invited to this about a month ago, and it talks about strategic alliances and joint ventures. And then he asked me to provide an international slant to this topic this morning. And before I get started, I'd like to recognize the fact that during the break, I noticed that we have a pretty interesting mixture of businesses here. I think we have a couple of nonprofits this morning, or maybe not-for-profit. We also have a small business, a Sir Speedy on this side. There's an insurance gentleman on this side, and there's also an advertising person. I'd like to get an idea, if anybody would be courageous enough to raise their hand, what are you looking for in your strategic alliance or joint venture, or why are you even here this morning? And if I may pick on my colleague, Mrs. Cornett, I'm going to pick you out. What are you looking for this morning being in the advertising business?
Well, many of my clients are involved in strategic alliances and joint ventures and whatever. And I feel an obligation to just know as much as I can about how these things work, why they come about, how they succeed, how they fail, so that I can help my client. I might also take our company into an alliance and a venture sometime.
Sure.
So for our own purposes, it's very good.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I'd like to hear a comment on this side of the table. Gentlemen, sir, you're at the very back. I'm going to pick on you now. What are you looking for in your alliance?
Well, I think in my business, printing, the capital requirements are becoming higher and higher with technology. And there's really two sides to that. One is forming alliances with other people in our industry, and also approaching clients with potential alliances is going to be a necessity to survive.
Okay, very good, very good. Somebody over here on this side of it, and then I'll get started. Can I get any comment? Mrs. Kuhn, what are you looking for?
Well, I do see consumer product development.
Oh, okay.
And my job, for example, currently is with commission cleaning very well-known artisans and use that to get products to get from So we work with a whole variety of different people, and I just want to know how to make that work as smoothly as possible.
Okay.
Profitable. They may be non-profitable, but I do supposed to make money.
Okay, okay, good. Well, I hope I can present some ideas or some concepts, or at least some real-world experiences from our end. And again, my job is to give it a little bit of an international slant. And my colleague did an excellent job this morning in presenting some of the basics, because you're going to see a couple of points repeated or should we say hit home when creating the alliance? Pennzoil is a big company, but we can't do everything right. So the first thing we ask ourselves in creating a strategic alliance or forming a joint venture or recognizing a distributor or naming a distributor is, what do we want with that alliance? What are we looking for? Mr. Cox, what are you looking for University Utility Services in your alliance? What is your, okay, what is your business?
We are basically support services for the utility.
Okay, what kind of support services?
We primarily do inspection, non-destructive testing of the actual equipment of the facility.
Okay, this is an interesting group. I've got a little bit of everything. Okay, in our business goals, or when we're asking for our business, what do we actually want? Somebody wants help, or we want support, or access to capital. This is a very interesting point right here. And you may team up with other franchisees, but we're all going to the business as Sir Speedy, and not as Kinko's or anybody else, or Alpha Graphics. What are our business goals? When we target a new market, we ask ourselves, and now I'm putting my Pennzoil hat on, do we just want a presence? Do we just want to casually export to this country? We get inquiries all the time, especially now that we have a website. I am in the Dominican Republic. I would like to buy your product. Who do I go to? I have 3 of those in this last month. We've had a distributor there. Unfortunately, we have not done well there. A distributor is a strategic alliance. Okay? We have not done well there, so the people are calling us. How can we get in? What do we want? Do we want a presence there? Do we want to just casually export? Or do we want to put more money on the line, open a small office in that country? Do we want to open a small office wherever your biggest client is? Is the business going to support it? Okay? Do we want a targeted market penetration where a customer is? Or do we want to open a direct operation and form a JV and provide immediate wide coverage all over the market or all over the territory or all over the United States? What actually do we want? What do we want to do? But that's a good point, the capital. Is it going to be restricted? Why are we selecting a JV or a strategic partner? Why don't we just do it ourselves? Why don't we just go and do it ourselves? Another good point is the capital. Okay? What other limitations can you think of? Expertise. Excellent. Very good. Very good. Have we discussed our alternatives within our company? We can go direct. We can take the whole pie. Let's say you're going to provide support services to Compact Computer. Can you support that business? Can you appoint a distributor or a representative in that country? Using the advertising example, we have a vendor. Pennzoil has vendors in our business. We're a marketing company. Our vendors are advertising agencies that handle our business. My wife asked me a good question last night. She goes, you know, Jesus, why don't you have in-house expertise for your business? Why don't you have an in-house agency? Because we become myopic. We become stagnated. We think we know everything, right? So we look to vendors, and we prefer them to be outside of our, that's not Houston, in the country or in the market where they have the expertise. Just like my colleague pointed out, the culture in Silicon Valley is a lot different than on the East Coast or in the Midwest. So my vendor in Central America is an agency called Lintas. Lintas does not have an agency per se in Central America. They have strategic alliances with a locally based advertising agency. As a matter of fact, that agency is a company called Publicidad Comercial, and they represent us in 4 countries in Central America. That's a strategic alliance. But they set up an office in Miami to help us out on a regional basis. Or have we considered postponement? Maybe it's not time to go in yet. Are you doing it because it's a buzzword? Are you doing it because somebody's pushing you? Let me tell you something. We've done something way before the curve, and it came back and bit us. You know what happened? It cost us a lot of money. We don't want that. as my colleague also pointed out this morning, have our senior management, board of directors, or stockholders bought into your plan? Do they understand what you want to do with that? They might give it a lot of lip service, but if things go wrong, they might have to double your budget. Uh-oh. What do you do in that case? Keep your head low, right? We've been there. We're getting ready to look at a case study that we did. Unfortunately, it's also just a great thing. I can come up here and talk about the number one selling motor oil in the United States, Pennzoil, 10 years running and everything, but we have made a lot of mistakes. And I hope that today, by offering you some of this information, it will reduce your risk if you set up a JV or a strategic alliance. As my colleague also pointed out, we want to do as much upfront planning as we can. What kind of planning are you doing, Mrs. Cox, as you research this strategic alliance?
Well, a lot of things.
Or Mrs. Kuhn, I'm sorry. Mr. Cox is really trying to marry you off, I'm sorry.
A lot of it, we're basically springboarding on 6 years of past experience of this show, doing these kind of things. It was very successful one year, and the other years have just been marginal. And then we're talking to the other people that do the same kind of thing, not the same way. but the same kind of
Good, good. Well, I'm happy for you. You have been honest with yourself and recognized that it was not successful. There's a lot of people that just going to put that line down. Listen, we're Pennzoil. Period. We're the number one selling brand. We're the highest market share in the United States in the passenger car motor oil market. And you go to Lima, Peru, and they say, so what? Show me something that's going to give me some money at the end of the day. I don't care who you are. Okay? Upfront planning, complete market analysis, and risk assessment. Help define opportunities and reduce the chances of not meeting expectations. What does that mean? That means that we need to do as much homework as possible ahead of time. I don't want to get into analysis paralysis here, but as much information as possible. I think the second point is going to clarify it just as well. Understand the market as well as your partner or strategic alliance. Okay? When you get together with the other Sir Speedy franchisees, if that's who you're going to hook up with, you're going to be the smartest person in that room. You're going to understand the ins and outs of your industry, of the economy, of what your competitors are doing, what your customer wants. You're going to understand that top to bottom. I had a discussion yesterday in the international marketing class with Dr. Anwar, and I try to explain and hit home the fact that before we go into a market, we like to think that we do our research, but we also have to rely on local expertise because Pennzoil is new to this, right? So I'm looking for a major conglomerate. I'm looking for an automotive dealer that sells aftermarket products, tires, parts, batteries, okay? They're the experts in the market, right? Okay? Now we begin to start selling to them. They say, you know what, Jesus? We've been doing business for 6 months now. I think you're a nice guy and everything. I need for you to give me a lower price. Why? I can't sell. Stuff's too expensive, man. You might be able to sell this stuff at Sam's or Walmart, but this stuff, I can't sell it in Lima. Why? It's too high. Well, Mr. my good friend, Mr. Partner, I did research a year ago that said that your landed cost is going to cost you this much to get the product into your warehouse. Duties, tariffs, handling, inland freight, ocean freight, inland freight on the other side. This is how much it costs you to get there. Now, 40% margin isn't enough, then I'm sorry. But I want you to understand that market or your customer as well as your partner. I want to really hit this point home, okay? Because he's, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. Confirmed facts. When we went into Argentina a couple of years ago, we used a format that Duracell, which is now a division of Gillette, uses. And the approach for them is they go in at least a year in advance and start studying the market. Who do they send in? Somebody give me an idea. Who would they send in? From their staff, or their human resources, who would they send in? Somebody give me a Who would they send in? Mrs. Allison, who would they send in? Just take a wild guess.
Someone who would understand social work.
Okay, let's say somebody who's going to understand a human resources question. Okay. Who else would a company, let's say Pennzoil, who else would we send in? An engineer? Very good. This is a technical product. It's not sold with technical attributes necessarily on a creative side, because you don't want to hear that. But I need to make sure that my product meets the local specifications. Okay? Because we have a lot of European cars in Argentina. Okay? What else?
Financial analyst.
A financial analyst? How much is it going to cost to run this office? Right? Or how much is it going to cost to get the product into a bonded warehouse in Buenos Aires to sell it to 4 or 5 distributors for the metropolitan area? How much is that going to cost? More important, who's going to pay for that? Huh? What else? Who else will we send down there? Marketing. Marketing, salespeople, who's going to sell? Who knows Spanish? Somebody's got to go down there. Somebody has to go and understand what that customer, in this case, what the market is demanding. That's where it goes like that there. Understand the market as well as your partner. Resource commitments, financial and human, are required. Of course they are. They got to pay my plane ticket to go down there 4 times a year to give a seminar or to teach people. You know what the room rates are in Buenos Aires right now? $250 at a 3-star hotel. That's not cheap. What's a ticket? $2,000? American through Miami? It's not a fun flight. It costs a lot of money. We're the experts, right? Supposedly, we're the experts, okay? But you got to make the investment. There are few opportunities to succeed and many chances to fail. You got that right. We've gone into markets where we have failed twice, and we're trying for the 3rd time. We're doing it right now in Ecuador. And my new customer in Ecuador, God bless him, man. That guy is a believer. Let me tell you something. Okay? But I will tell you this. I'd rather go in fresh versus going in for a 3rd time. Because when you're in the market and you're staring at a chain store operator of auto parts or the Napa representative for auto parts in Ecuador, in Guayaquil, and said, man, I don't know about you guys. You came in here 3 years ago, you thought, you guys were hot stuff. You're coming in the 3rd time. You're on Pennzoil. You don't understand what's going on. Pennzoil doesn't understand what's going on. Not Mr. JV partner or Mr. Distributor or Mr. Ally. Pennzoil doesn't understand what's going on. You guys come in here with this American mentality. We didn't do our research. Okay, now for the ugly stuff. We got into an overseas project, and you will forgive me, even though we're colleagues and friends here, you will forgive me for not giving you the country, okay? Because I was not allowed to. We got into an overseas project, and I think, what is it? We have many entrepreneurs in this room this morning, or at least 1 or 2. Probably the best experiences that they had is when they failed at something. So I'm going to give you that experience right now. We're going to do a 50-50 joint venture. We paid a couple of $1 million to get into a 50-50 joint venture because we're taking equity into this company. That's how we felt we could get the control to manage our brand. The joint venture partner provided the bricks and mortar, which is a blending plant for us, and a packaging plant. What are we providing? The marketing expertise, right? Supposedly. Okay. Our partner was, because we've already bought him out, was the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, a partnership with the Minister of Foreign Affairs is never a 50-50 partnership. Never. If somebody is 10 times your size and he's a 50-50 partnership, he is not a 50-50 partner. It could say it in a legal document right here, but that dude has 10 times the size of you, or 10 times the money. Forget it. Especially when he's the Minister of Foreign Affairs. We thought we were the coolest thing, walking into that office. The first time he got mad, just imagine the egos of these guys. The first time he got mad, we knew we were in trouble. because we would never win a case in that country. Disagreements? Any disagreements here? But it says right here that you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to. I don't care. This is my backyard. Now it's emotional. Now it's not legal. Now it's emotional. Okay? Pennzoil is not going to come down here and win a case in this country. That's the real world. We deployed a proven marketer as an unproven general manager. Anybody ever make human resource hiring studies here? He's a great salesman. He's bound to be a great salesman. Right? She's a great administrator. She's bound to be a great CEO. He speaks Spanish and he was excellent in another market. He's bound to do well in Argentina. Wrong, didn't work. We love the guy to pieces, but unfortunately it just didn't work. We failed to reconcile advertising expenditures with sales results. We were overspending and we didn't catch that in time. Or we put our blinders on and we didn't say, well, you know, it's called investment spending. What are your stockholders going to say at the end of the year? Where's my money, man? Huh? Where's my money? I thought you said we were going to show a profit this year. Well, you know, Argentina. I don't want to hear that. All I know is that I had a report that I signed off on that said we were going to make money. That's all I know back in Houston, Texas. We spent, what we call staff, we spent for a direct market operation, but our strategy was to go through distributors. We had, like Mr. Bourne said, we had several strategic partners. Our strategic partners were independent entrepreneurs that distribute lubricants and chemical products to the aftermarket industry. Those are our strategic partners. They're making a commitment. They're providing warehousing. They're providing expertise. They're providing a book of business, people that they sell to already. They probably moved aside a brand and brought ours in. We're brand new. Okay? Think about that commitment. They live on this stuff. Oh, by the way, you don't make a lot of money in this industry. Okay? This is an extremely dynamic segment. I don't know if Mrs. Point knows that, but it's very, very dynamic. Why? Anybody can buy a quart of oil. You see your customers 3 or 4 times a year. That's why it's so dynamic. That's why you see a lot of promotions. Very, very dynamic. A set of tires you're going to buy every 2 years, every year and a half, a couple $100. Not a very, everybody buys it, but not as frequently as motor oil. Extremely, extremely dynamic. We tolerated this disproportionate funding too long. We put our head in the sand. Right? That's not good.
When did you figure out too long was?
We figured out too long was a year later. That's a good question. And you know what? It cost us a lot of money to get out of that. A lot of money. Unfortunately, right now, we're not making any money in that operation.
A year after you got into the market, or
A year after we discovered the problems. I really, really hope you have never been in that situation before. Right? Huh? What are we trying to say here? Please do your homework. Please do your homework. Know the market. Know what you want to do before you get into the partnership. We failed to validate the reports, the reported results via an audit. We should have sent our auditors there a long time ago, but we should have validated what our local auditors were saying. So we got a second opinion, and guess what? The second opinion differs from the first opinion on the closed books for the year. Anybody ever heard of that before? Huh? What did Ford say one time? He said, you want to read fiction? Read a 5-year projection. I'm serious. In our business, the customer loyalty has a short and fragile shelf life. That's what I was saying. It's an extremely dynamic dynamic product. We have promotions all year long, all year long. That's the way we generate volume. When we generate volume, that's when we make our money. Okay, I'm not going to make money selling 1 liter quart of oil at a time. I have to generate gallons and gallons and gallons of motor oil. That's going to give me my economies, which is going to help me reduce my costs. In that operation, we were supposed to install an operating software that we bought in Miami for a lot of money. Guess what? It didn't work. $50,000 later, we might start paying an invoice. Not fun. We continued to aggressively pursue sales while working capital was out of control. This is starting to get ugly, isn't it? Huh? And we're talking about a 9-hour flight from Miami to Buenos Aires. Think about the expense of sending people down there to try to do damage control. The key point here is that we underestimated the organizational chaos and time it takes to complete an acquisition. In that particular case, we were buying into an entity, and we were not ready for that. Let's make it really simple. Go ahead, Ashley.
Can I ask a question? It seems like when I said someone who understands social demographics, I really don't think because what it sounds like you did is misjudge, like, as business people, you don't take into account a lot of social demographics, so you think you understand the social
Well,
demographics, but that's...
what we did is we did trade research. Okay. We had trade research and we had consumer research, and we felt that that was enough. Okay. In our business, usually it is. We didn't fully understand what we were being presented.
You didn't understand the nature of commerce.
No, we did. We did. We just didn't understand the numbers that were being presented to us. Okay. And we used that to base our projection. Okay. So what did we do here? We underestimated what were we doing? We were buying into a company that was already operating. Let's make it let's use a real simple example. Let's say you're gonna name a distributor for a territory. Okay? The guy says, man, I think your product is the best product in the world. Note, have I said anything about quality of product at this point? The product continues to be noble. It hasn't changed the quality. Nothing's changed about Pennzoil. Pennzoil is still a good product. If it goes in the crankcase, it's still going to protect your engine. Everything I'm talking about is the setup for the business. I have not talked about, there's no product quality issue. There's no question that we have an excellent product. That never came into the conversation. Okay? Now let's say we, Carol, we name a distributor for a certain market, small market. The guy says, you know, I read about your product on the website. We think it's a slam dunk. It's a great product. I want to buy some. Okay. So I tell you what, here are my terms. You put together, you show me an LC, letter of credit. Container's going to cost you $25,000. I'll put it in the Port of Houston for you. Okay? And you pay me, in 60, 90 days. Go to work, Tiger. All of a sudden the guy says, well, you know what? I need help here. What do you mean you need help? I thought you knew the lubricants business. I thought you knew the lubricants business. Okay? All of a sudden, you're not ready to support this guy. Do you have bilingual people? Do you have bilingual literature? Okay? Do you know enough about your business to be a peer with him? Do you know enough about his competitors? Do you know what's going on in the industry? Do you know what's happening in his business, in his market? Okay? Take that example and multiply it times 10 right here. And look what happened. Structure and controls were under place. Enough of the ugly stuff. A strong initial partnership creates a good and strong long-term alliance. As my colleague said, the opportunity for mutual benefit, win-win, must exist. I had a customer that I've been with Pennzoil 5 years now. I had a customer, God bless him, because he's an excellent negotiator and an excellent business person, and his money that he had in the business confirmed that. But I will tell you, I had to be on my ball every time I spoke to this guy, because he's going to get something out of Pennzoil. Does anybody ever have a customer like that? Huh? What's that for? You know what, man? You can really help on this place. was here the other day. Anybody ever heard that before? All right. God bless him. But another customer of mine, our distributor in Panama, told me that. I said, you know, he says, because we actually got into a laughing deal. I said, you know, every time I come down here, man, you're trying to get something else out of us, you know? Said it kidding me. And he says, you know, he says, what do you want? You want a guy that's just passive, or do you got a guy that's aggressive? What do you really want? Do you want me to really sell your product or not? Okay, do you want a passive guy here selling your product, or do you want an aggressive guy like me? And that's that. I just have to learn how to control that, right? That's my thing. The strategic goals must be in agreement. Are we both going in the same direction? Yeah, but you said you were going to sell $500,000 worth of business, of printing business this year. Wait, we can't do that. I thought you said. Okay? Do we understand when we set up, Mr. Merle, when we set up a contract, will that partner understand what you want? I hope so. You better. He or she better. The long-term success is dependent on clear objectives. Sure it is. And you take this into, you assume this, but you're right. It has to be dependent on clear objectives. We have to know what we want. In the advertising business, are they going to have production capabilities? Okay? Are they going to have expertise in certain types of customers? Does my vendor, my advertising agency, understand the automotive business? Do they know anything about motor oil? Have they gotten on a truck to go sell motor oil with my distributor salespeople? Has your guy gone into the office of your customer to really understand what he needs in terms of printing? And of course, just like Mr. Bourne said, open communication and trust are critical, especially in Latin America, especially. Do you have any questions? I hope that's,
Where were you 6 years ago?
where was I 6 years ago? Where were we, honey, 6 years ago? I don't know. I think I was calling on her dad, giving permission to marry him. I think that's what it was. We set up a lot of distributors overseas, and we go through the same process each year. We want to make sure that our distributor understands, number one, probably most important, our distributor understands how we want our products sold, how we want our services presented, how we want our painting shown. We want them to understand how to do that. You're seeking a partner because you have something that's lacking that you can't do it yourself. It probably will be more expensive for you to do it like that, or you don't have the expertise. If they have the expertise, do they share your vision on how to go and do it? Yes, ma'am.
You said you're coming up this next third time.
Yes, Ecuador.
So what is different? What are you doing in a different way that's going to make it work now than before?
We don't have a couple of the great guys that are in charge, just like my colleague said. Egos. Okay? I'll just be honest with you. The second guy we signed up was a friend. He spoke Spanish. Who had an Ecuadorian wife. And that qualified him to be a distributor. Or did it? Apparently not. Okay? But it was one of those decisions, Kathy, that they made up here, well, that's a little market, just kind of, or whatever. Just leave it down there. Yes.
Pennzoil have a formal process for going into a new market.
We do.
Establish.
We have a whole strategic marketing process that's taken us years to perfect. Now, the question is, Carl, whether we're going to implement that or not. Okay? Because we've had that for a while. In some of these markets, we haven't. Why? It's a little market. It's way down there. It's about 6 hours away from the road. The thing is, when it goes wrong, man, it becomes this size. Well, happening down there in Ecuador, man. I get calls. Our CEOs get an email from this guy. See? Dr. Anwar didn't let me show you that marketing process today because he said he didn't have a little time, so. That's another $225 in the next session.
We didn't have prevented some of these problems.
That's true. You're right. You're right. I need to give you a little history on the International Marketing Division at Pennzoil. And listen, this is just one case. I can go on and on for. We've got beautiful customers. We've got great alliances. We've got excellent distributors. We have people, let me tell you something, they're personal friends of ours. I've got people coming in to Houston this weekend. They're a race in Minneapolis and flying into Houston. We have a great brand. I am so happy. I am so happy, and I really, truly see this as what I do as a privilege, is to sell. There's nothing better, right, Captain, than selling the number one brand. There's nothing better, okay? And my job is to go out there and send the gospel, spread the gospel about, man, you need Pennzoil. It's the best thing since sliced bread. That's my job, okay? This is just one ugly incident that's cost us a lot of money. And I hope that this information today, hope that the $225 that you paid, you get that duplicated or tripled in value. I really, really hope that. So that's why I wanted to spin it kind of ugly today to really hit it home. But when we set up distributors, it's never the product. It's never the painting. It's never the printing services. Okay? It's never what this gentleman does in utility. It's never that piece of equipment. It never is. Okay? It's always something within us setting up our goals. Are they in favor? Are they out of whack? Do they make sense? Is there money for that? Bottom line, is there money for this? Are we going to make money at this? It's never, the crazy thing, it's never the product. The product remains noble. It doesn't even say it never complains. The product never complains.
In all your discussions, you've been talking about your dilemma with distributors. Why is not going direct an alternative?
Direct is an alternative. It usually is a question of the proximity to other sources of product, or it's too small of a market. Let me give you an example. The territory that I handle specifically is Central America and the Caribbean. How close are we to the Gulf Coast? We border the Gulf Coast. It just so happens that the most efficient plant in my system, in my manufacturing system, is in Shreveport, Louisiana. Okay? And there's so much traffic going through the Gulf and the Caribbean that my freight rates are extremely competitive. Okay? So I get my product for these markets out of the United States. And I'm a head count of one for my size area, and my area generates $2.3 million a year, and I'm a head count of one guy. They don't want to change that. That's cash flow that pays for all the salaries in our division and everybody else, and then everything else they make is for everything else. So, to answer your question, that particular case, it's not feasible for us to go direct in my area as an example because of the proximity to the United States. Now, in South America, we are direct in Bolivia, in Argentina, and in Peru. And we have plants in Peru and Bolivia. And that's a duty structure situation, and it's also a freight deal. It would just cost too much money to get our product down there and try to remain competitive. Do we hear another question over here on this side? Time to eat, right?
It's time for lunch.
It is. That's it from any other questions? Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it, and good luck.
Thank you.